call this the A story, Cassie on who she is. The B story is going to be her new powers. The Oh man, it still makes Ezekiel like a C story though, but that's fine. So actually, you know what? We'll make Cassie's new powers the C story because usually you want the villain to be the B story. And then the D story is going to be her relationship to these girls, which are currently a MacGuffin, but we have a chance to fix them. So, with all that in mind, let's put these up here. So the A story is Cassie on who she is and who she is in relationship to her mom, and then we have Ezekiel's pursuit of the girls / Cassie. Then we have Cassie's new powers. And then we have Cassie's mentorship as who will she will be. Because she's I kind of took it as somebody who's never done anything with the comics. She kind of seems like a Professor Xavier. It's a little on the nose considering she's, paraplegic in a wheelchair talking to people psychically. It's a little on the nose. But even then, she's the mentor. So if the Cassie journey is who is she and who is her mom, that's going to be the first half of the story. And the reason it's going to stop there is once she figures out everything she needs to know about her mom, except for maybe a few extra details, the rest of the story is her applying that information to solve the problems that were set up. So she, it's a flip flop. It's Seth Rogen talks about it in Superbad, where it starts off being mostly about like a broad sex comedy and a little bit about like two friends having to deal with the fact that they're not going to be friends or at least be in the same college next year, and as one ends, the other one begins. So one goes down, one goes up, and so yes, Cassie is going to slowly learn who she is, but then that's gonna stop because she's gonna realize it's more important for her now that she has a better understanding of who she is and in the relationship to her mom. She's gonna be in conflict with Ezekiel, but also dealing with her new powers, which is the C story. So really, the A story becomes the C story, which is Cassie's new powers, which is kind of what has happened, except she has a bunch of new powers at the beginning. And so if I were to write this, I would have spent a lot more time at the beginning establishing Cassie. It's weird to establish Cassie just as she is because she's supposed to be this like antisocial, awkward, like savior, person who saves people as a paramedic, but she's antisocial and she's awkward and she doesn't like to interact with people. And so her arc is going to be either, becoming less antisocial, which is not my favorite choice, but more likely it's going to be using her the minutia and the nuance of her antisocialness to be a benefit to people around her, to sort of bridge the antisocial gap a little bit. I could see that happening. And then as she learns more about her mom, she learns more to accept who she is and how she is this way. I could deal with that, and then that could bleed into her new powers and her ability to, even though she's not exceptional at being the mother figure or being the mentor, she has the ability to see ahead of people, and that gives a level of insight that she has that they don't inherently have. I think that's a very useful motif. The villain story needs to be completely redone because right now he's just mad and he wants them dead. Yeah. Why is nobody in a non-Spider-Man moment in time not freaked out that people in Spider-Man costumes are absolutely wreaking havoc on the city? Why? I don't understand. And he's not being very sneaky, obviously. He kind of sucks at being sneaky. So there's that. So I think the B story needs to mirror the A story a little bit, where if she's on a journey of self-discovery and revelation, he's on a journey of addressing why he is the way she is, or he's the way he is, or she is the way she is, and confronting it. Maybe his journey is to try to entice her, convince her that the lifestyle that he's living is the choice lifestyle for somebody with spider powers. Like I think that's a much more useful thing. You know, all of a sudden he's an ally, but he's not. He's obviously a bad guy. I think that's not a great pitch, but that's the pitch I have. And then Cassie's new powers, I think, is very straightforward. You know, we have the epic moment where she almost drowns, and then she is basically revealed her powers to herself, and then she has a little bit of deja vu. But I think the logic of how the deja vu and how the seeing in the future just needs to be cleaned out more. I think it's too complicated, especially by the time you get to the end where she's using like the corrugated metal as a shield for stuff that's happening instantaneously. That's insane. We didn't see any of that. We certainly need to see her fail with her powers at some point and realize that there's a limit, or that there's a trigger, there's something important to get her going. I think that's important. But also, we need to really hammer down specifically what her powers are, even if that means her powers are different when, or her powers become more powerful when. I think that's important because then there's a logic to it, there's an anticipation to it, because right now, it seems like she's like 3 steps ahead of us, but not because she's brilliant, but because she's a coincidence. She's working with coincidence. And so I think it's a lot more useful for her to learn the powers the way we're learning it, and for her to be like half a step behind. So we see that she needs to be able to predict this in order to solve this, and she guesses wrong, like that kind of thing. I think that's useful. Yeah, and then the mentorship with the girls. That's a mundane story. That should have been what that third writer would have been a specialist at, because that's what TV is. But yeah, the 3 girls are pretty one-dimensional right now, and part of it is they don't get enough screen time. And part of it is they can't do anything. They're literally girls running backwards, stumbling backwards. So that just needs more work, is what I think. Yeah. So as far as fixing this, I mean, as to re-edit it, I feel like there's a way to cut it down. Maybe cut out half an hour of this 2-hour movie to make it a little more palatable. Probably a lot to do with the orange, because I'm seeing a lot of orange premonition stuff happening. Also, every time we see Ezekiel, it's a total waste of time. Another way you could do the Ezekiel stuff, if he wasn't going to be the B story, is just have him literally be the force of God around them. And so there is no B story Ezekiel. It's just Cassie figuring out who she is, Cassie's new powers that she's discovering, and then her mentorship with these girls. And the obstacle is this, you know, supernatural act of God thing that keeps happening that she's up against that just happens to be a person. I think that's actually more useful, because honestly, the Ezekiel character is really, really boring and really mundane and kind of irritating. And he's way too powerful for what they're dealing with. The stakes make no sense, especially with how easily she defeats him. Admittedly, she goes blind, but that's trying to get her into, you know, the next position for the next movie where she's actually more like the comic book character, I believe. So